For anyone who is new to meditation today and maybe feeling a little nervous about being a good meditator or already determining that you're a terrible meditator, I just encourage anyone here who's harboring any judgment or story about your participation to just lighten up a little bit, just ease up on the expectations and come into the simple beauty of breathing. And allow the act of breathing and the act of paying attention, even for just a moment, of how you're breathing, noticing your body breathing in and the body breathing out. Just that action alone is a powerful meditation. So let's take just a moment to breathe, to arrive to this beautiful practice, to this magnificent collective soul. And then I'll share with you a couple of verses from Shantideva. Friends, this first chapter, we're reading the book Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And this is a translation by Geshe Kelsang Gyatso. And there are several translations and interpretations of this book. I have another one here by Katie Crosby and Andrew Skilton. The point is that Shantideva's work has been well explored, and there are several translations worth looking into to gain different perspectives on them. But the first chapter begins with the benefits of bodhicitta, or the benefits of having an awakened mind. And I'd like to simply come back to the word bodhicitta, or awakened mind. And for me, how that's alive in me. And when I think about bodhicitta, when I think about an awakened mind, what comes to my mind? Pema Chodron liked to talk about bodhicitta as sort of the soft, wounded heart. That tender place within our hearts, that place of deep feeling, deep resonance. And then the mind associated with it, the thoughts and stories surrounding those deep feelings. Sometimes the judgments we harbor, sometimes the negativity we have there, and the encouragement. All of it combined to create this soft, tender, harmonized place between the heart and mind. And to live from that place. So the bodhicitta is an open heart, an open mind, a curious heart, a curious mind. And these are the benefits. What the verses that we're going to hear are the benefits of cultivating that openness, cultivating that softness and that spaciousness, learning to put down the armor, learning to put down the hardening that can happen to the heart and mind. We've convinced ourselves that we're being self-protecting. We've convinced ourselves that we have to be hardened to fend off the slings and arrows of the world. And that might be true, and not the whole truth. Because the truth is that when we build a hardened fortress around the heart and the mind, we slowly cultivate an inner landscape that is imprisoning. And so what we can do over time and with practice is start chipping away at that hardening, at those fortressed walls, and make windows and doorways and have places for sneaky peeks and open up just a little bit, slowly, slowly, gently, gently. Here are Shantideva's words. And this is verse 11, if you're reading along. Since the limitless wisdom of Buddha, the sole navigator of living beings, upon thorough investigation has seen its preciousness, those who wish to be free from samsara's suffering should firmly maintain this precious mind of bodhicitta. For anyone who is new to the Buddhist practice, there's some words in here that might be unfamiliar. The Buddha was not a god. The Buddha was a human being who lived nearly 2,600 years ago as a great legend story. And it is said that he was able to understand the causes and conditions of his own suffering, and by extension, the causes and conditions of suffering in life. And he created all kinds of teachings on how to come into understanding of that, to heal it, to transform it, to suffer less. Samsara is this cyclical suffering that we experience over and over and over again. In terms of recovery and substance use disorders or any other kind of negative habit energy, the samsara is the notion where we're going to engage in the same habit energy hoping for a different result. So for many people with alcohol use disorder, for example, it is spending a day drinking, going to bed convinced tomorrow I'm not going to drink, having every aspiration to stick with that, and then the next day be consumed by craving, be consumed by the mind stories, the judgment, the shame, and before we know it, we're back in the habit energy again. We're back in the suffering. That cyclical repeating it over and over again is samsara on a very basic level. Shantideva is saying to each of us, if you want to be free from this kind of cyclical suffering that's present in your life right now, cultivate the precious mind of bodhicitta. I interpret that to mean, I like the word precious a lot because it reminds me and encourages me to tell myself that I'm doing my best, and my best isn't always great. And to keep going, keep opening, keep learning to be honest with myself, keep being curious, dare to ask the hard questions, be fearless about looking at myself, admitting behaviors that I'm not proud of. Be willing to admit to myself, I only need to admit this to myself, times where I've really disappointed. I've not met my expectations. Look at the conditions for that. Mature it, shift it, give myself time and space. Be gentle. All of that coming together, coalescing in the harmonized heart-mind is a precious state of being. I don't have to keep hammering myself over the head with messages that I'm a terrible person, that I should do better, I should do this, I should know that, on and on. Put it down. And come into the soft space of the heart that reminds myself I've been hurt in this life. I've had wounds in this life, and I'm learning to heal them. And that will take time and presence. I'm just going to read this next verse, verse 12. Whereas all other virtues are like plantain trees, in that they are exhausted once they bear fruit, the enduring celestial tree of bodhicitta is not exhausted, but increases by bearing fruit. I don't know about you, but I have no idea what a plantain tree looks like, so I'm curious about that. Let me read it again. Whereas all other virtues are like plantain trees in that they are exhausted once they bear fruit, the enduring celestial tree of bodhicitta is not exhausted, but increases by bearing fruit. What's coming alive for me, friends, is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And sometimes what we know is where it begins and ends. It doesn't always lead to wisdom. Wisdom is taking what we know and allowing it to be transformed in an infinite number of ways, applied to an infinite number of arenas in our lives. Wisdom is limitless. And one of the things I love about a Buddhist approach to recovery is while we are focused on working with negative habit energy, maybe ending substance use, for example, maybe that's the thing that's really getting in the way of enjoying this precious life. And so to know that we have to stop using drugs or alcohol is a very important piece of knowledge. And then to take that knowledge and to enact it, so we cultivate whole new habits and options so that we don't have to turn to drugs and alcohol as ways of coping with the stressors in our life. The wisdom that we glean from this, however, can be applied to so many facets of our lives. The way we interact with our family members, the way we interact with coworkers, the way we take care of strangers, the way we drive in traffic, the way we manage an upset or something unexpected. So the Buddhist approach to recovery is looking at recovering ourselves, our whole selves, from the layers and layers and layers of trauma and suffering, so that we can grow, mature, blossom, flower, fruit. And the way that level of wisdom can transform ourselves and by extension one another is limited only by our imagination. Take a moment and come into your heart, come into the mind, and notice if there's any hardness residing there. And without judgment, just observe. Observe any resistance, any negativity, and see if you can shine the shyest light upon it with a single degree of curiosity. And notice. Alrighty, let's go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And I'd like to invite everybody to engage in a little homework this afternoon by embodying our sentiment of metta, which is to walk in beauty. And just let that kind of roll around in your mind like a pinball machine ball. And what does it mean to walk in beauty for you? And may you be surprised by what you discover. We end our practice always dedicating the merit of this practice whenever we come into the presence of the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, and the Sangha, the community of wise friends endeavoring and aspiring to reduce suffering. We gain merit in these actions, positive qualities. We nurture our inherent goodness. And we are invited not to hold on to it, but instead to extend it out into the world, to share it freely. And the miracle is that the more we share, the more we have to share. So may your presence radiate the goodness that you've received from this practice today. And if it's comfortable for you, you can bring your hands together at the level of the heart. May we take this practice in, and may we be happy and peaceful. May we be healthy and strong. May we be safe and protected. May we live with ease. To the sacredness of your journey, I bow. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Namaste.